The color you're not allowed to use. How ownership broke the spectrum. Welcome to the Threads of Culture, a show that unpacks the evolving landscape of design, branding, and the cultural forces shaping the global stage. Today, we're going after something so fundamental, you probably never questioned whether someone could own it. Color. The raw material of everything you see, increasingly locked behind trademarks, lawsuits, and subscription fees. There's a shade of blue you're not allowed to put on a jewelry box. One artist secured exclusive rights to the blackest substance ever created, and another artist retaliated by selling pigments to literally everyone except him. 30 million designers opened their Adobe files one morning and found their colors replaced with black. Not corrupted, not missing, paywalled. And if color is a language, what happens when corporations start buying up the alphabet? The spectrum, this thing we treat as universal and shared, is being carved up and sold off. The implications stretch far beyond branding into a fundamental question: who gets to communicate visually and who doesn't? Here's where we're going. First, we'll trace how color went from a scarce physical resource to an infinite digital one, and how ownership adapted to follow it. Then, we'll look at the brands waging legal war over specific hues, from T-Mobile's Magenta Crusade to Louboutin's Red Soul, and the billions at stake. And finally, we'll examine how the Pantone paywall cracked open a much larger conversation about digital commons, creative access, and what a color rebellion actually looks like. To understand how we got here, you have to understand that color has always been political. Tyrian purple, extracted from thousands of sea snails, was so expensive in ancient Rome that wearing it was literally restricted to emperors. During the Renaissance, ultramarine blue made from lapis lazuli cost more than gold by weight. Painters rationed it. Patrons specified in contracts exactly how much could be used. Color wasn't just aesthetic, it was currency. It was power. But here's what's crucial. Those were restrictions of scarcity. The materials themselves were rare. Nobody claimed to own the concept of purple. They just controlled the supply chain. When synthetic chemistry exploded in the 19th century, that scarcity collapsed almost overnight. William Henry Perkin accidentally synthesized Mauveine in 1856, and suddenly vibrant purple was available to anyone for pennies. The democratization of pigment was one of the great quiet revolutions in visual culture. Then came digital design, and color became truly infinite. On a screen, every hue is just a combination of light values: red, green, blue, a few numbers, any color conceivable, zero marginal cost, unlimited reproduction. In theory, this should have been the final liberation. Every designer, every creator, every person with a screen had equal access to the entire visible spectrum. But abundance creates a different kind of problem for the people who profit from control. If you can't restrict the pigment, you restrict something else. You restrict the name, the reference number, the legal right to associate a hue with a product. You move from owning the material to owning the meaning. In 1995, the U.S. Supreme Court made this shift official. In Qualitex Copperview Jacobson products, the court ruled that a color alone, no logo, no text, no design element, could function as a legally protectable trademark. The floodgates opened, and the land grab began. Tiffany & Co. trademarked their Robin Egg Blue, Pantone 1837. That number is deliberate. 1837 is the year Tiffany was founded. They embedded their origin story into the color system itself. UPS locked down Pullman Brown in 1998. Home Depot claimed its orange. John Deere secured its green and yellow combination. Barbie's pink. Owens Corning's pink. Fiberglass insulation. One by one, sections of the spectrum got fenced off. T-Mobile might be the most aggressive player in this game. They hold a trademark on Magenta, Pantone 1676C, and they enforce it like a border patrol. They've sent cease and desists to insurance startups, dating apps, Even a small Austrian telecom that had been using magenta before T-Mobile's parent company, Deutsche Telekom, ever claimed it in Europe. In 2010, they sued Lemonade, a tiny insurance company, over its use of pink. Not magenta, pink. And the chilling effect is real. Competitors don't just avoid T-Mobile's exact shade, they avoid the entire neighborhood of the spectrum. Then, there's Christian Louboutin, who won a trademark on his red-soled shoe in 2012 after battling Yves Saint Laurent. The court's ruling was fascinating in its precision. The red sole is protectable, but only when contrasted against a non-red shoe upper. Color in a specific position on a specific product. The logic is elegant and terrifying at the same time, because it means the boundaries of ownership aren't just chromatic, they're spatial, contextual, and endlessly expandable. Now, the honest counter-argument. Trademark law is narrower than it sounds. Tiffany can't stop you from painting your bedroom that shade of blue. These protections apply within specific product categories. There's a legitimate consumer protection function at work. If someone wrapped a delivery truck in UPS brown, you might genuinely think it was UPS. Fair enough. But the gap between legal scope and practical impact is enormous. Small businesses can't afford to test where the line is. A cease and desist letter from T-Mobile costs nothing to send and everything to fight. The spectrum doesn't just shrink legally, it shrinks psychologically. But the moment that made all of this viscerally real for millions of people wasn't a lawsuit. It was a software update. In October 2022, Pantone pulled its color libraries from Adobe Creative Cloud. Designers who opened Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign found their carefully specified Pantone swatches replaced with black. Pantone Connect, the replacement, costs $15 a month or $90 a year. Just like that, the universal language of color became a subscription. This hit over 30 million Creative Cloud subscribers. People who had built entire brand systems, production templates, and client deliverables around Pantone references suddenly discovered they'd been building on rented ground. The reference system they treated as infrastructure was always a licensed product. Pantone just hadn't collected the rent until now. And to be fair, Pantone provides real value. Before their system, matching a color between a designer's screen in New York and a printing press in Shenzhen was chaos. Decades of investment went into building that consensus. The question isn't whether standardization has value. It's whether a reference system that has become the shared language of an entire global industry should remain ownable the same way it was when it was a niche printing tool. When something becomes infrastructure, the rules should change. Or at least, that's the argument the design community is having right now. The most vivid rebellion against color ownership came not from the design world, but from the art world. In 2016, artist Anish Kapoor secured exclusive artistic rights to Vantablack, a material so dark it absorbs 99.965% of visible light. No other artist on Earth could buy it or use it. The reaction was immediate and furious. Artist Stuart Semple created the pinkest pink pigment and made it available to everyone, with one condition. Buyers had to confirm they were not Anish Kapoor and were not purchasing it on his behalf. Semple followed up with Black 3.0, his own ultra-dark paint. The legal disclaimers on the packaging became art objects in their own right. It was funny, theatrical, and pointed, a populist counter-movement wrapped in satire. But beneath the meme was a serious question. Can a single person own a color experience? Looking forward, the tension is only accelerating. As generative AI tools create designs by the millions, questions about color licensing become exponentially more complex. If an AI outputs Tiffany blue in a generated image, who's liable? As more design moves to platforms controlled by a handful of companies, the infrastructure question gets louder. Open source color systems are starting to emerge. attempts to build shared reference languages that don't belong to anyone. Whether they can compete with Pantone's entrenched dominance remains to be seen. So, the color you're not allowed to use. Maybe the real question isn't whether any single trademark is justified. Maybe it's what it means when the spectrum itself starts to feel like it belongs to someone else. Here's what I want to know from you. Have you ever changed a color in a project? Not because it wasn't right, but because you were worried about who might own it? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how many of you have felt that invisible fence. If this episode made you see the color wheel a little differently, share it with the designer in your life who's still furious about the Pantone paywall. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you catch what's coming next. Until next time, this has been the Threads of Culture.